Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoiint, and this isn't just another gaming monitor, this is the fastest gaming monitor that I've ever used. It's a 500hz QD-OLED, and this thing is unreal. So it's the MSI Mag 272QP-X50, which is a 1440p 27-inch screen that supports HDR, VRR, and comes with a 3-year burn-in warranty. And it is pretty well priced for what we're getting. Now, I'm excited to jump on this today, but as always, any questions you've got, just drop those in the comments below. Okay, so first up, let's take a look at what we get inside the box. So it comes with an HDMI cable, a DisplayPort cable, a quick start guide on setting up the stand, some VESA bolts if you plan on using it with a monitor arm, a power cable, and a microfiber cloth. There's also this factory report of the screen calibration for things like the color gamut. Then there's the two-part stand, so this piece, which is the base of the stand in all black, and the main arm that will attach to the back of the monitor. Now all we need to do is fit the stand simply by attaching it to the back of the monitor like this, sliding the base on and screwing that into place. And we are done. Okay, so design-wise, I'm liking the solid black finish to it, where both the rear of the monitor and the stand are a mixture of a glossy and a matte black. It looks gamer-focused, but also a little bit stealthy. So we've got the MSI logo up here at the top, as well as a large MSI logo on one side. There are also a few buttons back here for controlling the display and powering it on and off. But just to note, there are no LEDs on the back of this monitor, although these might look like LEDs, so at least that's one less thing that you need to worry about switching off. And as this is an OLED, the screen itself is pretty thin, but it does have this chunkier part in the middle to house all of those internals. As for the bezels around the front, well, these are very slim and thin around 3 sides of the screen, with only the bottom part being slightly thicker with the MSI logo. As for the ports, well, this comes with 2 HDMI 2.1 ports with the full 48 gigabits per second support, 1 DisplayPort 1.4a, 1 USB-C port, and a headphone out. So plenty of ports for connecting it to your consoles, PC or laptop, and it's actually nice to see a USB-C port on a gaming monitor, as that's not something we often get. It's also got plenty of adjustments as you expect from the stand, including full movement up and down, swivel, tilt and pivot. So as mentioned, this is a 27-inch 1440p QD-OLED, and almost immediately straight out of the box you can see the image quality on this just looks insane. It's sharp, it's vibrant, and the colour reproduction thanks to that 99% DCI-P3 is great. But let's be honest, that's what almost every other gaming monitor has been able to do for the last couple of years, right? So how does this one look any different? Well, firstly, this screen comes with a true black rating of 500, up from the usual 400 that we get on a lot of the other monitors. This is then giving us an improved HDR image and an overall better picture quality due to the increased contrast. And as it's a QD-OLED, the colours are always going to be that little bit more vibrant over a normal OLED panel. As for the black levels, well, under the right lighting conditions, they are inky black and look almost perfect. And that is one of the biggest reasons that I always choose to go OLED over a traditional LCD panel. It's due to the dark areas or the shadows of how the image looks. However, just like with every other QD-OLED, if you shine a light onto the screen or use it in a brightly lit room, you're going to see some raised blacks. Now that is not a fault with the monitor as such, but it is a characteristic of QD-OLED panels. But as you can see here, the contrast and the black levels still look brilliant. It means you can jump into any vibrant HDR supported game and you'll see how punchy the image looks. And there is no denying that games like this really show off how clear and detailed the picture is. And again, this looks pretty impressive for a 1440p resolution. And it's not just the colours of the screen that will impress, it's the brightness. So this is, at least from checking my own notes, the brightest screen that I've ever tested, because this is able to achieve a minimum peak brightness of 500 in an 8% window and 300 nits at full screen. It can also hit 1000 nits peak brightness, and when using MSI's EOTF mode, you'll get 1000 nits and the same black levels from the true black setting. Now that is in part thanks to the custom heatsink, as it's able to push the brightness higher without damaging the screen. It's also worth mentioning, as it is one of the biggest concerns that you guys have with OLEDs, that it does come with a burn-in warranty. In fact, MSI are so confident with their heatsink and their OLED Care 2.0 settings that they are giving a 3-year warranty with the screen specifically mentioning burn-in. That is huge, as it gives you peace of mind while you're using it for the first 3 years. Now just going back to the picture quality, don't forget this is a 1440p screen and not 4K. And considering this image that you see here is only 1440p, this is surprisingly sharp and detailed. Now I've always said that at this screen size, 1440p is more than enough. It's only when you really go larger like 32 or above that 4K is really noticeable. And then we've got to talk about viewing angles. So as you would expect from any OLED or QD-OLED, they are incredible. You can view this from pretty much anywhere in your setup and you're not going to lose any contrast or brightness at all. And that is still one of the biggest advantages of an OLED over an LCD screen. I'm talking about the screen, that then brings me on to the coating. Now you've probably noticed this already, but this is using a glossy coating, which means the clarity in colours will be better than a matte coating. But it also means you're going to get some reflections if you cannot control the lighting in your room, whether that's your window or your lights. But saying that, the tint and the reflection handle on this screen is very impressive. So as you can see here, I'm showing you what you could see in the room when the screen is completely switched off. And that tint really does reduce the reflections of the room. But let's talk about what is it like for gaming at 500Hz. Honestly, it is ridiculous. Now I've shown a few different monitors on the channel over the last year, and they are either 240 or 480Hz. That's fast enough for most games or most builds. But if you woke up this morning and thought to yourself, I need faster because 480Hz doesn't quite cut it anymore, well, this is it. So I'm using this with an RTX 5080 setup that I've got down here. This has got the Founders Edition 5080, 64GB of RAM, and the i9 4900K processor. It handles pretty much everything I throw at it, and it means I can use it for this monitor to make the most out of it. However, when MSI sent me this monitor to test out, they also loaned me this PC to go with it, and this is the Meg Vision X AI gaming PC, and it certainly has a unique design. Firstly, it's got this 13-inch touchscreen on the front which you can use to control and view your PC settings, and a gaming-focused design with the vents and the overall look. But then inside this thing, it is packing an RTX 5090, 64GB of RAM, 2TB of storage, and an i9 processor. And as soon as I switched this thing on, my son claimed it for his new setup. But unfortunately, this PC and the monitor are loaned, so they will be going back after today's video. So as mentioned, this monitor will hit up to 500Hz in the games that support it. And I know what you're thinking, what games even hit that kind of FPS? Well, you've got Counter-Strike, Overwatch, and Valorant do. So in these games, you're able to max out or get super close to that 500 FPS. Of course, there are plenty of other games out there that are sub 500 FPS like Call of Duty, Apex Legends, and Rainbow Six Siege. Even story-driven games like this if you're not bothered about always hitting the highest FPS possible. Obviously, jumping from 480 to 500 is minimal, but from a 160 or 240Hz screen, this is a huge jump. There's virtually zero trails or blur on movement, and you're not going to get much better than this. Essentially, you're going to be getting the cleanest and the smoothest image and gameplay that you could possibly imagine. It's just a shame that this video is capped at 60 FPS. As for the response time, well, this is advertised as 0.03 milliseconds grey to grey, and it is one of the fastest gaming monitors that I've ever used in the setup. It's also got VRR, or the variable refresh rate, so it kind of ticks every box that you need from a monitor if you're using it for competitive or FPS gaming. I mean, 1440p, 27 inches, QD-OLED and 500Hz support, this thing is nuts. And something else that I didn't mention earlier is it also has BFI, or the black frame insertion. It's something that we've seen other manufacturers dropping over the last few years, but it's great to know that it's included with this monitor up to 240Hz. Of course, everything I've tested on today has been on PC, but don't forget you can still use a monitor like this for console gaming, something like the PS5 Pro or the Xbox Series. In fact, it's got full console support which gives us HDMI 2.1, VRR and up to 120Hz. Obviously you're not going to make the most of that 500Hz, but you're still getting the incredible viewing angles, brightness, HDR and picture quality, as well as of course that lightning fast response time. But if you're just looking for a 120Hz screen for the PS5 Pro, you're probably going to go overkill with something like this, even though you're getting plenty of other features that you might use too. And if for any reason you feel that 27 inches is slightly too big for your FPS games like Call of Duty or Apex Legends, you can always use the inbuilt aspect ratio options where you can change the actual size of the image. So here I'm using the 27 inch, but now this is the 24.5 option to make the screen that little bit smaller. As for the menu and UI, simply by pressing the buttons on the back of the monitor, you can jump into the main settings. It shows us the current input resolution as well as the hertz, and you can adjust things like the picture settings, brightness, screen size, and so on. As well as you can also enable a few different gaming options like these, but I rarely ever use them. And MSI also provides firmware updates of their screens, so if you do grab one of these, make sure you update them using the latest firmware on their site. This will likely give you improved features or bug fixes, and it's worth installing. And that is always the first thing that I do every time I get a new monitor. But then something that's really surprised me with this monitor, other than the picture quality, is the price. So just comparing the specs of this to other 1440p monitors or even 1080p monitors, this is very well priced. You're getting a 1440p 27-inch 500hz QD-OLED for $750 or £800. Honestly, that is a great price for this spec. If you're someone who's after a monitor that you can use for both PC and console, and you really want to push your FPS north of 400, this is a great screen. It's bright, it's fast, and it's got USB-C, and it's an OLED, so the colours look incredible. MSI have kind of knocked out the park with this one. Now let me know what monitor you are currently using, or what is your dream spec monitor that you would like to see. And if you drop a nice OLED in the comments, I'll give you a thumbs up for staying right till the end. And thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and follow me everywhere. Until next time.